Hey guys, I wasn't expecting this to get so long, but so interesting part of this is how it's live. So I've actually just put the first two comments on my blog, posted to Twitter and to the feministe group that it's there. So um, as we speak, people are probably being appalled and indignant. Um, Whatever. Um, and I would like to just refer to why I'm calling this derailing. If you've been part of this scene at all, this blog scene, you've seen this derailing for dummies. So part of the victim transfeminist thing is that that they have a whole frames for pretty much invalidating any argument that's used against them. Um, and and some of them are just bad rhetoric, but there's just something self-righteous and victimized about the whole thing. And I find what the victim transfeminists are doing also derailing. It's also trying to stop conversations from proceeding. So that's why I call this derailing. So this is derailing toward the politically correct, I guess. So back to Jay. Number one, out proud is verbiage of LGB liberation. LGB liberation is great, don't get me wrong, but trans and LGB are not categories that can be flawlessly compared. I agree with that. The idea that because I do aspire to be largely stealth means I'm closeted doesn't make any sense. I'm a man, and if I'm getting recognized as one according to this post, that makes me closeted. I don't think this is logical. And again, this is where it gets very sensitive, very political. Is that I think that's the best argument here. Which is you basically by saying passing and closeting, you are Monica is and I am saying that there is a difference between being a trans man and someone who's born somatically male. That I think just about everybody except the hardcore people in the politically correct movement would agree to that. I think this real just trying to cling to that real authentic, just the same, exactly the same. A trans man is exactly the same as a bio man. Um, I think that's just because people are trying to say what their experience is inauthentic, and I'm not, and I'm sure Monica's not either. I think it's actually biological. I've come to believe it's just biology I share with them, which doesn't make you transition. It's biology that makes you have those behaviors, those gendered behaviors. Um, but anyway, two, the responsible for education does not fall on trans people. I've seen this one from Serrano. Whatever. I don't get this argument. It just seems so wildly off track. I'll finish it though. Often the burden does indeed fall on us, but that is not as it should be. And I have done this myself pre-transition. If a trans person chooses to do trans activism in education, I support them, and it's a fallacy to state trans whatever. I didn't get the rest of that. But I think part of this, it's not my duty to educate. It's just that people aren't really agreeing. And then that's kind of a fallback. That's a way of disengaging. It's not my responsibility to talk to you, but you have to agree with me because it's my lived experience. You have to have my frame, but it's not my experience. It's not my job to explain it to you. You just have to take it from me that it's true. Again, that's derailing. That's classic derailing. Okay, CJ. And as a black person, I take exception to the idea that living stealth is the equivalent of passing. The very term implies living as something one is not, and the use of the term in this context implies that trans men and women aren't really men and women. And it's true. That's the point. Again, is it is implying, not that they're not really men and women. It's implying that there's a difference between being a trans man and a man. It's not a hierarchy of one better than the other, one more authentic than the other. Um, it's completely authentic. But again, I think we wind up with something closer to a third and fourth and fifth gender framework. Um, and actually sex, sorry, not gender, because gender implies it's socially constructed, and sex implies it's biological. So, trans men are part of a gender variant sex, and I am too. Trans women are part of the gender variant sex, which is not exactly the same, and as long as you're clinging to that, then, we're not going to get anywhere. Gina is talking to Jay in Chicago. A tiny part of me thinks that stealth can actually be subversive because cis people think they have a right to know about trans status of trans people. I don't want to play into that. At least Jay has the honesty to say that that's a totally weird argument. That would be, if we're going to take the racial thing again, that would be someone who's passing, someone back in, before civil rights, an African American passing as white, saying, "Oh, I'm actually more progressive by claiming that I'm white and by denying that I was born African American, because it's subversive, because then people think then they see that their preconceptions of what being black are not right." It's like, whatever. It's Gina goes on to support it, but it's a pretty weak argument. And then Gina responds to me with my video, that also your video is full of a lot of ignorance about trans women. I might suggest blogging about your own issues and own direct experiences, not as a community of which, like it or not, you're not a member. And so this is this whole essential thing is, what is the difference between me and a trans woman? So trans woman who takes body modifications, and me, a trans woman who rejects all body modification. Is there a difference? And a lot of this kind of trans culture says, oh, that's an essential difference. That we're different species. And I'm saying, no, the subject for which I claim to speak is male femininity. So we're drawing our lines differently. So, by her saying, I draw this line this way, and therefore you're not allowed to speak, whatever. It's the argument you see over and over again. And the ignorance about trans women, it's kind of, she's trying to shame me into not talking. It's an ad hominem attack, which used to scare me. Now I really don't care anymore, since I started reading about victim feminism and kind of saying, oh, it's this victimization thing. And finally, last, Emmett. Well, I have this to say. With this post and its puke-inducing comments, I'm finally convinced to take this blog off my reader permanently. Good job, feminist. Way to improve on those trans issues. So, yeah, this is so self-righteous. This is so self-righteous. There was nothing transphobic. There was not a single transphobic thing here. People who don't agree with you, that's different than being transphobic. Get off this victim kick. Victim feminism did not do anything for women, and trans feminism isn't going to do anything for us either. We have to fucking start acting. We have to come out of the closet. We have to demand recognition as what we were born as. Demand recognition for what we were born as. If you want to transition after that, fine. But at least you should have the option of being what you were born with, being who you were born. Okay, that's it. Part 4, and maybe I'll come back later. But bye bye.